I hope you guys are having a day. On today's episode, I am speaking with Chalon, who is Cartier's mama, and we talk about what it's been like for her while she's been navigating her grief. Cartier died from a drowning accident when he was 4 years old, just a month before his fifth birthday. We talk about what it's been like being a Black woman navigating grief, what kind of community resources she's been using, how her life has changed. She has a living daughter, and she's also pregnant right now, too. We talk about what life has been like working through her daughter's grief and what it's been like going through pregnancy after loss. Welcome back to The Sad Moms. Today I have Chalon, who is Cardi's mama. She is also the mama to, she has one living child, and you're pregnant.
Yes.
To talk about today. So before we get into the shitty part of your story, tell me about Cartier.
Cartier, he was born August 17th, 2018 at about 2:10 p.m. if I remember exactly. I had him at MLK Community Hospital. He was a joy. He came in and he was very quiet. It took a lot for him to get adapted to the world, but he was very nosy, very curious over time. And just watching him grow, he was just a ball of life. He was radiant. He's my little yellow ball of sunshine. He came out so light skinned. Everyone was like, wait a minute, why is he so yellow? And I'm like, no, he's ours. He belongs to us. But he was a vibe. He always knew how to put a smile on your face. I love that he would notice small things about you, and he was very good with compliments. It wasn't even with just me, just people. He'd be, I like your tie. I like your hat. Just little things like that that'll make you feel noted. And when you put that effort into your look or your outfit of the day, he was the one that made sure that he recognized like that effort.
You look good.
Yes. He was very energetic, always just a ball of energy, moving around, very curious, can be a little manipulative, but I mean, what kid isn't? I think at one point when his godmom taught him how to wink his eyes, one time he got in trouble with me and I was talking to him and I was scolding him like, you cannot do that. That is not a safe thing to do. And right in the middle of our conversation, he hits me with this wink. And I'm like, wait.
How could you be mad at that?
What did you just do? I'm like, what? And so I talked to his godmom and I'm like, can you believe today he had the nerve to wink at me in the midst of me scolding him? And so as I'm talking to her, she does the wink. And I said, it was you that taught him. I'm going to be your butt. Like, why did you make this so hard for me? So once the wink became a thing for him, it was hard to like always hold a grudge or be upset with him because he just knew how to charm you. And whatever way it was, even like my daughter, it doesn't matter how I have my mom moments with her where I get upset, they always get their way. So that's my baby.
What are some of his favorite things?
His favorite things to do, he loved to draw. He loved music, always dancing, always singing. I remember our last family trip, we took the kids, we drove to San Francisco. And I remember one of our stops driving up to San Francisco, we were at a gas station. And there was this song that was playing. I forget the name of it, but it really had him so lit. We're getting back to the car and he literally stopped like everything we were doing and just had this whole dance sequence and was just like vibing out. And I'm like, yes. But he just had him a blast. And he was like, when the song ended, he's like, all right, we can go. Like nothing else could happen in that moment until he finished his dance. Always loved adventure. He just loved just to study things and ask tons of questions. And if he wasn't doing anything outside of that, of his daily norm, he just loved to be a snuggle bug all the time. Yeah,
Mom's
definitely.
boy.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's his relationship with your daughter like?
They were like best friends. They were just inseparable.
How much older is she?
3 years. And that was her baby. She had just turned 3 when Carter was just born. And so that was a really hard thing to transition to, going from 1 to 2 and still... Although we would always tell Maya, you're a big girl now, in so many ways, she was still a baby. And so it took a lot of figuring out the dynamics between the two of them and really gathering or gaining a routine. It wasn't so much so that I couldn't handle it, but I treated them like twins. It was easier to just do it like twins. If she had it, he had it. Maybe even if it wasn't age appropriate, I still compensated in a way to make sure that his needs were met and her needs were met. Eventually down the line, it became a little easier, but their relationship was just inseparable. They played so well together. Like I said, they were my two. If you see me, you seen them. They may have been dressed alike. It wasn't intentional. It was just happened to be maybe mommy caught a good sale. And when we got up on a Saturday and we got dressed and this was what the outfit of the day was, I really, really didn't realize the value of a sibling until Carter transitioned and just figuring out how to deal with my grief and figuring out how to keep my living child stable. I'd catch myself in moments like, oh, go play, go do this, da da da. And then it's like, all right, she doesn't have nobody to play with. Like it took time to realize how big of a gap that left in our life. And it put me in a place to find ways to entertain my child and also ways to check in with her to make sure she was okay mentally and not take so much out on her. It wasn't necessarily that anything was of her fault. It was just, I can't help but look at her and know that there's supposed to be somebody standing next to her,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Do you feel okay talking about the day he transitioned?
Yeah, I do. It all happened so fast. It was ruled as a drowning incident. We were in Fullerton. I want to say, if I recall correctly, we went to family friends, their relative's birthday. And that morning we got up, we did our usual thing. Let's see. Cardi was in a program through the city of Inglewood. Shout out to budding artists. It was so cool. And he had a great time with all of his teachers. And my friend at the time, she has a little boy. They started in daycare together. And as time went by, she had her questions and concerns about her own child, about his developmental milestones and things like that. And I would always be of encouragement. I'm like, girl, he's only 2. Like, let him be. He's fine. I'd always give her that positive reinforcement and that reassurance, like, he's good. But she noticed over time in daycare that Cardi and her son had a really good bonding, and Cardi gravitated towards him and was kind of like what they would say, my brother's keeper. Like, you want to play? You want to come hang with me? You want to do this? You want to do that? Like, always keeping him included. And she loved that. And she loved that for her son. And so that kind of brought up upon our friendship. And we decided we're going to keep the boys together. Everything that we possibly could get the boys together in, we would do it. And so one summer we got him into the budding artist program through the city of Inglewood, and it was really nice. They would meet on Saturdays and they would go for like an hour and just do art, just painting canvases, exploring colors, textures. They were given projects. I think their final project was murals, whatever. So we get up our usual morning, we go, take them to art class. After that, Maya went to Whitehall Arts Academy, where she was doing a plethora of things, whether it was singing, acting, piano, violin, dance. They offer that for them. And it was so cool. And she still goes to this day. And that's so I told her. She says, well, what are you guys going to do the rest of the day? I said, their dad was supposed to come and get them, but I don't know if he had to stay later at work or whatever. I don't know what happened. I was like, but what's going on for the rest of the day? And she goes, well, we're going to a family party. If you guys want to come, bring kids, whatever. I'm like, sure, let's go. And so I was like, do you mind? I'm going to stay back with Maya. She's going to finish up her music lessons, and then I can meet you there. So I packed a bag for Carter. Carter left with her and her son. We ended up pulling up around the same time anyways. So I pulled up not too long after she had gotten there. And so we got there. We're getting the kids together. We took them to the bathroom to get their swim clothes on. I brought my swimsuit because initially the plan was she was going to go swim too. And so I said, okay, I'll swim with you. This is cool. Let's make it a day. And she ended up not changing at that time, in that moment. And I said, well, what happened? And she goes, well, I'm not too confident to get in the water. She just had a baby, like maybe less than a month ago. And so I said, I get it. Like, I'll sit chairside with you and we'll just watch the kids from the pool. Fine. Kids are having a fun time all day. I remember her aunt managed to provide them with little donut floaties. Kids had a great time. They were in the water all day long. And I recall the kids saying, Mom, Carter doesn't want to go back to the other side. And I'm like, no, you have to come back this way. And he did. I remember that part. And we were talking on the side. And so it was time to get up and go sing happy birthday. We had just eaten before that too. And so everybody was ordered to get out of the pool. And my friend now, she was, well, where's Carter? And I'm like, that's a good question. I'm like, I don't see him, you know? And so she's like, maybe he went to the bathroom. I'm like, he's 4. He wouldn't know to get into that bathroom because I recall there needing to be a key to get into the bathroom. And I'm like, maybe he went out of the gate. Something, you know, it was just odd. Like all of a sudden everyone's off the pool except for my kid. And so we're looking, we went to go sing happy birthday. I'm still looking because I'm just like, it's not like him to disappear like that. And I saw somebody walking back with a piece of cake and they kept looking at the water. I'm like, what did they keep looking at the water for? And I kid you not, like I never once thought about the water. And so I overheard this person, they were talking to somebody like, hey, is he okay? And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Is he okay? And I'm like, God, no. Like when everything registered and I realized what was happening, I kicked off my slides. And all I could remember was screaming at the top of my lungs, somebody call 911. And I just jumped in a pool and my baby was 8 feet deep at the bottom of the pool face down. And I jumped in, went to retrieve him. I brought him up to the surface. Everybody at that point was standing sideline where we were on the side of the pool where he was. We started CPR. The ambulance had gotten there maybe no more than 5 minutes. They arrived. They took over. They moved him to like a dry area because they attached the AEDs. They were able to manage to get a pulse and they're like, we have to move now. And so from there, I grabbed what I could. They asked questions of who he was, who I was, jumped in the ambulance. I couldn't ride in the back with him because they were working on him and trying to keep his pulse. And I just remember looking through this little tiny box and just seeing like his chest rise and fall, but it was very shallow. And I was just like, so many thoughts in my head. I'm like, oh my God, their dad's going to kick my ass. I'm fucking stupid. Like, how can I let this happen? What happened? Why wasn't I paying attention? Just all these things and running through my head. And if I could just get time back, like, God, please, like, um, I remember getting to the hospital because they called in. And I want to say there was like 4 doctors on standby along with like 8 or 10 nurses. And I was just waiting for my baby. And they worked on him. And they worked on him and they pushed epi. They switched out doing chest compressions. It seemed like what had been like 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And I stood outside of the room because they wouldn't let me in. There were just so many people in the room. And at one point, one of the nurses was like, do you want to go in with him? And I felt like in that moment, I was like, he's gone. But nobody had said anything in that moment. They just told me to stand with him. They intubated him, everything. Like the kicker of it was because we were so far away. Family was like an hour away, so I had to wait. I was there by myself until people had arrived. So at that point, they had already gave his time of death, which was 7:23 p.m. And I was just there in a world of shock. I couldn't even, like, when the doctor told me, like, I'm sorry, we did everything we could. I was just at a loss for words. I couldn't say anything. I just sat there, just a roll of shame, just embarrassed, angry, feeling like such a cluck. Like, how can I fumble something so precious? And like the thing about it was like that summer, Maya had always taken swim lessons since she was a baby. So like around the time that he was the age, I was like, okay, I remember I got Maya to swim. Now it's his turn to start swim. Let's get them to swim together. And it just seemed like that summer. I don't know if it was just like because I waited so late or money was so funny, just trying to struggle. Like, I do the bulk of the finances for our family. And I guess you could say like I'm the breadwinner. So a lot of decisions and financial things, they come through me. But when you're doing the bulk of it alone, like you have to figure out how to move money and cover everything to stay afloat. And so I don't know if it was just at that time money being short, but or just waiting too late for registration. But it seemed like everywhere in the city that I could possibly go, from here all the way to Torrance and back, there was no space. Like everyone was booked, slots were empty, especially for his age group. So I'm like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna do what we can for now. We're just gonna wing it and we'll just prepare better for next year. And then this occurred. And I would just everything. You think of everything. You're like, why? Why did I wait?
How long ago was that? That was, no, it's been 2 years?
It'll be 2 years this year, July 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, since he passed away.
What was it like after? What has the past 2 years been like for you navigating your own grief? You talked about shame. I mean, I think like you talked about guilt. You have a living child. Like this is a lot. How have you gotten through that?
I did my best. I could definitely say that. In the beginning, I remember when first coming home, I didn't want to eat because I felt guilty. Like, how dare you enjoy life and your son's not here? I punished myself a lot.
When you say you punish yourself, were there other things besides not eating?
People, like family, friends, they try to get me out the house, come check on me. I didn't want to do anything. I felt too ashamed to face the world because at the same time, the world wasn't so kind. And then even when I got to a place of feeling comfortable about talking about what happened to people, it just gets really awkward, even still today. So I just don't, I pick and choose who I share with. I guess I can say that. But it took a lot of nights I stayed up. I sat on my patio. I still sit on my patio to this day. I smoked a lot of weed. And I did. I cannot, like, I got to a point where I cannot function. Like, it was like, and it was bad. It wasn't like an addictive thing, but it was just like, their dad was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I need to smoke. Like, I could even have just smoked, and I'm like, I need to smoke. But I still managed to get up and be present for Maya. But it came to a point where before I did any and everything, I had to smoke.
Because you needed like a sense of calm.
Something, yeah, something. I was just so numb, just checked out, but still present for her. It took a lot to manage and maintain her emotions. One minute she's up, the next minute she's down. It took a lot of adjustment with school, getting them to understand the nature of our situation, and they weren't so kind in certain things, in certain situations.
They were not kind?
They weren't. She had a counselor there that she's seen. The one teacher she had that year was very empathetic, but I think it was more like the kids trying to navigate. And, she had a few circle of friends that would hug her and console her. And then she had the other set of friends that were just like bratty kids and would taunt and tease her, like, oh, that's why your brother died. And just rude things like that,
Kids can be so cruel.
They can be.
It's hard.
So I went through, at some point I kind of got past like wanting to smoke all the time and started keeping myself busy with other things. And the way I did that was just getting into the community, free events, looking for grief groups, going to counseling. I'm still in counseling to this day. So is my daughter. I went to LA Care Community Resource Center.
Okay.
Which is really cool because it's open to anybody. You don't necessarily have to be an insurance recipient, but it's open to the community, and they have like free classes, Pilates, yoga, Tai Chi, stretching, hip hop aerobics, cooking classes, just all types of different things. And so I would look and I'm like, well, I think I got time today. I'm going to go sit in. I'm going to go, take some time for myself. I try to keep myself busy when she was in school because if I sat still, I'd find myself leaning into those dark spaces, and it got scary.
How do you get out of those dark spaces? Sometimes I get stuck in those too.
It's really hard.
It feels like you're in a hole sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't get out.
I think in those moments where I feel like I'm going on the other end, I call my mom,
Okay.
or I'd call my dad. Um,
Do you feel like
really,
you've had a supportive community around you?
yes and no. Yes, for the simple fact I have my troops in place who I know will come for me and do whatever I need at the drop of a dime. And no, in a sense that I would say that over time, in the moment, it felt like, how dare they leave me like this? And they know what I'm going through. And then it took time for me to understand that God extracted those people from my life for a reason, despite how it happened, in order for me to make space for the people that I have come across over time and have helped me navigate and keep moving in my grief.
How do you feel like navigating grief and being a Black woman have affected you?
It's rough.
Tell me about that.
It's rough.
Tell
It's
me
rough
about
already because we come with the stigma, right? Well, she's on welfare, this, that, and the third. People are so quick to judge you on the outside. But with that being said, I've been in and out of therapy since a very young age. That's kind of been my life. I'm a sexual assault survivor. So that was one thing my mom and my dad pushed for me. And so when I was going through this with Cardi passing, I had no other choice. Not saying I had a choice, but I just knew that was what brought comfort and what would bring some sense of stability to my life. And so with that being said, I did it for me and my family. Unfortunately, their dad didn't really take to it too well. And that's okay. It's not for everybody. But my main focus was me and my daughter. And so with that being said, it comes with his judgments. Oh, you're this, you're that, you're crazy, you're whatever. She goes and sees a therapist, whatever. No, I do it so that way I can be here present in this moment with you when you're calling me to say, hey, my kid is doing this or we're doing so and so. Do you think you can come? I do it so that way I can be present for those moments. And had I not, who knows where I would be in this moment now. So I give a lot of pushback when I get judgment or receive judgment for what I do. And sometimes I just choose to not listen to what people have to say because the way I see it is I'm able to wake up every day and focus on what my purpose is in life. And I always try to tell my daughter, never, ever feel bad for what you do to maintain yourself. Mental health before anything else. It's key. And if anything, be an inspiration to others and be of encouragement for the simple fact that they don't have that, some people.
You've been through so much.
Thank you.
I'm inspired by you and everything you've been through, and you just keep trying. That's so much of what I see from so many different sad moms. All of our stories are different. But what I can see from you today and just from all the sad moms that I talked to along the way is that we just keep trying our best.
Yeah.
Whatever that
Sure.
looks like, we just keep trying our best.
Yeah.
So, you've done what you need to do with getting therapy and taking care of your daughter, and now you're pregnant.
Yeah.
That's happened because that's like a whole other thing.
It's like joy. It's joy. It's emotional. It's
Okay.
overwhelming. The next 4 months from here on out is going to be heavy work for me because this month is my birthday month. And then, let's see, June, Maya will be turning 10 years old. July will be 2 years since Cardi transitioned. And then August, the baby is due literally a week before Cardi's 7th birthday. So I'm just like, how do I navigate all of these things?
How do you?
I'm just living in the moment.
Okay.
Not allowing for other people's opinions and what they feel. It's been a
That's
lot
a lot.
navigating and then trying to maintain some level of a decent relationship with her father because that's been hard trying to maintain our relationship and working through his grief, let alone his personal problems. And so over time, I have learned to just step away from certain things when it comes to him and just leave him to figure it out. I think if a person wanted to do something or had intentions to do it, they would.
Mhm.
And I feel that that shouldn't fall to be any burden on me because I have a lot of my own personal things.
You have enough.
Um,
You have enough.
so, um, but it's fun. It's fun. And it was crazy. In my heart of hearts, I knew I was having another boy. For some reason, I always had this knack to know what I'm having before the medical professionals could
Yeah.
tell me. And so, same with Maya. This is a girl. When I got pregnant again, everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna have another girl." I'm like, "No, this is a boy." And then when I got pregnant this time, I'm like, "This is another boy." Like it's just something I feel like that I'm just in tune with my body. And sure enough, um, I didn't want to know because I've always tried to have that for all of my pregnancies, but everyone's just so excited and yay having. So I could not get away from that yet again. Especially when I saw him on his first scan, the doctor asked me, she says, "Well, do you want to know what you're having?" And sure enough, his legs were just sitting up like a goalpost. And then I had blood work done, and that I was able to confirm that through blood work that it was another little boy. And I was like, "God, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy."
When you found out it was a boy, what did you feel about that?
Um,
Did you feel good? Did you feel worried?
I feel great.
Okay.
I feel like it's so crazy how much people want for you instead of just focusing on what you want for yourself. Because it's like, oh, you should, hopefully you have a girl. Like you don't need another boy. But why not? Wanted another boy. Not saying that he'll ever replace Cardi. There's never gonna be anyone that takes his place. But I just in my head I did want more kids. Where that space would have came and when the time was, I didn't know. Now we're here, but I'm grateful to be a mom again. I'm grateful that God given me his trust to be able to handle another one of his angels, let it be a boy. Maya cried. Maya cried when I first take my pregnancy test and I showed her.
So she excited.
Yeah, this was like I think in November. Yeah, November when I took my pregnancy test and um I showed her and she was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then she cried. And then when I found out what I was having, I didn't tell her. I just showed her the ultrasound pictures and she looked and she saw it's a boy. Her mouth must have just hit the pavement. It was like, "Really, Mom?" Like she gets really emotional. I don't know if that's a Gemini thing or maybe it's just a me thing, but she gets so like just bawls her eyes out.
Yeah. So pregnancy after loss for you has been peaceful?
It's been okay. I have my worries. I do. Will I be a good mother for him? Will my mental be okay? Like, I'm okay now, but it's okay when we get to that point when he's physically here and we have those moments.
When you've been navigating through your grief, what are some things that people have done that have been supportive to you? And then also on the flip side, what are some things people have done that you're like, I wish you could do that?
Support to me, honestly, my mom, I talk to her daily because she lives in another state. My dad, I know every now and again he'll come and pick Maya and I up and take us out. He'll try to get me and my siblings all together. If not, he'll come and get us and he'll take us out and spend time with us. My cousin, every now and again, giving her schedule, she'll come get Maya for a few hours just so I can have time to myself.
Okay. So support from family, talking to trusted, mom and dad.
Friends kind of like drifted off.
Okay.
And
so that part hasn't been as supportive.
Not so much so.
Okay.
I mean, I have a few here and there, but even in recent events, it's just been really wonky. I think people expect for me to just still be lying on the floor crying. And so now that I'm back to some level of normalcy in my life and they don't hear from me, then they panic or they try to guilt me for, "I called you and you didn't answer." And I'm like, "I'm busy. I have a kid. I have a family."
Yeah.
Like, if anything, be happy that I'm trying to, get back to some form of life and living. But like I said, I've lost a lot of people in my social circle. And I'm okay with that because it's allowed for me to invest my time in other places.
Man, you're good. I feel like I'm I'm a little stuck.
No.
I've lost a lot of friends too, and I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, this is okay. I'm still at the point where I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like, what?
No, it does suck. It really
Yeah.
absolutely does. But like I've said, getting out into the community, I would say like good thing that I have a knack for being resourceful. I guess you could say that's just part of me being nosy, but I don't sleep on nothing. When I say I've come through so many things and avenues and how to get bills paid, how to get the rent paid, how to make sure Maya has a Thanksgiving or a Christmas. It was honestly, truly the community.
Mhm.
The Christmas giveaways, the turkey giveaways, the back to school backpack drive. We signed up for everything. I've fallen to this world of, I want to do this now.
Okay.
And it's not so much that I want to do it because you're doing it. I want to do it because I see the impact that it has in what you're doing. Aside the next person that's doing the same thing as you, aside the next person that's doing the same thing as them, it's still not enough.
Mhm.
It's not enough. It's never enough.
Tell me about for other sad moms listening that might live in the LA area, what are some community resources that you found for grief or for other things that have been helpful for you during the past couple of years?
For grief, our house, which was where we've met, Taking Time, which is in Redondo Beach,
Mhm.
the LA County Library. Start there.
Cool.
That's how I found out about Taking Time, just walking and visiting the library. And I was walking out, they had their pamphlet on the wall, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. But LA County Library, let's start there. Go sign up. If you have your identification, that's all you need is your identification, your name. I've gone to Harbor Interfaith in San Pedro.
Okay, what's that?
It is resource in a way for help for rental assistance. They have a
Okay.
food pantry. They'll give you a voucher. You go pick up foods if you need food. Just different little avenues they have. They try to get people out for Easter events or come pick up a basket for your kid. Salvation Army, they have a food pantry. They have utility assistance, rental assistance, LA Heat, different things that I've found, especially in the community for people of color. There's so many things there. The Abundant Birth Project I'm currently participating in.
Tell me about that.
So for women of color, if you happen to be pregnant, you have to be, I think when you register, you have to be at least 8 weeks pregnant. And you have that window to register between 8 weeks and 27 weeks. You apply. And it's a program where they give you a monthly stipend. No strings attached.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I signed up and I got lucky. I was selected.
Mhm.
And now I'm getting a monthly stipend for the next 18 months. Just little things,
That's an amazing
little things like
program.
that. Even if money is like hard to come by, I know if you log into like your city website, like City of Inglewood, for instance, is where we live. Most courses for youth are probably like $10 maybe, and they run at least the full season. Maya and I, we've done water aerobics together. I signed her up actually, Swim Right Academy in West LA. I reached out. I seen them on Nextdoor, and I said, your facility is really nice, and I'm living on a fixed income, and I just want to know if there's any other avenues that you possibly could share with me that might be a little more price friendly for my family's needs. Turned around, and the coordinator was like, let me see, and I'll get back to you. She hit me back 2 days later. Maya signed up for free swim lessons
Great.
for the next 3 months. And I'm just like, you're kidding me. And she goes, no. I told her our story, what happened. She's like, no. She's like, I admire your strength. I encourage you to keep your child pushing. Does it make Maya be uncomfortable in the water sometimes? Yes. But as a mother, I didn't want such a tragic incident to keep her from living, With anything, I want her to build her own testimony and be of encouragement to others and be a light. 2 or 3 STEM festivals ago, I took the kids. They had football, they had baseball, they had all kinds of fun STEM activities for the kids to do.
Mm.
And Carter, one of the last things that he did was he was wearing one of those parachutes that the athletes wear when they're running. And there was a photographer there. And he was just snapping up pictures of my son. And it's so crazy. That same summer, they had released the City of Inglewood Community Guide. and Carter was on the front cover. Those pictures they took of him.
So
And I
special.
was like, what? Like my friend, the one whose son is best friends with Carter, she called me and she says, Carter's on the front cover of that. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I got it in the mail. And this was after he had passed away, actually.
The cover
The
was
cover got
after.
released after, and the city didn't know. And I never knew that those pictures would pop up on the cover because, you signed a release waiver and they're free to do whatever they want with them. I didn't know. But he did. He made it on that cover. And I was like, this is crazy. So that whole summer, she was going to Darby Park for summer camp, and I was taking as many copies as I could just to share with family and friends. And I'm like, look at him. And so
I feel like he sent that to you.
yeah. And so I told the lieutenant like what happened. I brought a copy of the magazine. I'm like, this is my son. He passed away due to a drowning incident. I was just telling him, and I had his heart. And he was like, my heart is with you. I know what it is to lose a child. He had a 19-year-old son that was gunned down and murdered in Vegas. And he's like, I don't know what else to tell you, but you just keep pushing and keep your head up. He's like, I really can't stand when people say it gets better with time. I'm going to be honest with you. It never gets better. You just learn to live with it. And he's like, you hang tight and I'm going to see what I could do. And he went to his crew, the police department that was out there that day. And he says, we're going to do one more. And he let Maya do a free shopping spree at Target with $100. I was just so grateful. And I was just bawling tears. And I told the team, I said, you guys just don't know. I said, it's moments like this that helped our time of need. And you didn't have to do this, but you guys found it in your hearts to be gracious and put a smile on her face and alleviate me of some stress and that feeling of being a failure of a parent and being able to provide, although it didn't necessarily come from me. It came through my power of speech and being able to connect with you guys. And I appreciate that. And so we took a picture. I took a picture with them. And that's one thing I noticed. But I was telling my dad before Cardi had passed away, I was like, I want to get a nice camera so I can start really taking lots of pictures of the kids together.
Yeah. Well, the pictures are all we had left,
Yeah, pictures. I find videos. I remember Maya plugged up his iPad and there was just so much on her that I hadn't seen.
Oh, how exciting.
And I was just like, oh my God, this is like a treasure trove. Like, and things like that, you just hold on to forever. Like, you don't let nobody take it over. Oh, you can have this. It used to be. No. That's gold right there. That stays in the vault. Like, that's not.
Ryland's iPad too. That was like everything to me.
Everything. I'm like, oh my gosh. Just to even hear his little voice. I'm like, oh, my baby. But with that, I remember back in November, my oldest brother asked me, he's like, well, when do you plan on going back to work? And I was like, honestly, I can't give you a definite answer. I don't know if that's something I'm passionate about anymore. I feel like when he transitioned, that kind of went with him. I was in the middle of working part-time, but going to school full-time, doing my prerequisites for dental school.
Okay.
And then that happened, and that just kind of took a back seat. And I told my brother, I said, honestly, I'm thinking of starting my own nonprofit organization to be a pillar in the community for our youth, our people, and just to be a well of resources. It's something I've been thinking of for some time. And so early on in my pregnancy, I couldn't sleep. I would toss and turn. And I feel like Carter kept coming to me and telling me to start this nonprofit. And I woke up the next day, I said, I'm going to start this nonprofit and I'm going to call it Grow.
I love it.
And so my mom was like, okay, I like the name of that. And she says, you should come up with an acronym, like what it stands for. So another night I was sleeping, still tossing and turning, dealing with morning sickness. And I woke up and I started looking at every positive word for each letter in Grow. And I woke up the next morning and I told my mom, I have it. And she goes, what is it? I said, Grow, it stands for gaining resilience, optimism, and well-being.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's you.
I'm currently working on that project. It's been a joy. It's been quite the experience. I've been linked in with lots of great business counselors from Los Angeles Urban League I'd suggest anybody reach out to them if they're interested in starting anywhere in their life with a business or even just getting any job readiness skills, whatever you may need, mentoring, resume writing, whatever, they have it there. Don't rob yourself of that. Los Angeles Urban League, because that's who got me started. And that's where I was able to be a recipient of a grant to fund my nonprofit and get the starting grounds and the bearings. So I'm excited for that to happen. Although my launch is a little later than I anticipated it to be, I'm a firm believer in that great things take time. And when it's time, it's going to be grand.
Yeah.
And I've reached out to my boss, Miss Lenice Yarber. Thank you so much for being so patient with me. My dad, my mom, of being encouragement. I can't say enough. I'm so grateful for the mom and the dad that I have. And I know that they probably have their reservations about how they were parents to my brother and I coming up, but I wouldn't have it any other way. If they ever needed to know, I always thank them. If anything I can say is I'm just grateful despite everything that I've gone through, that's happened, that I'm still going through to this day. I'm grateful to have met you and to be here and for you to share this space with me, just to have you guys open up the doors to your life and have a better understanding of your guys' journey and what you went through with Rylan and be present and a part of his legacy.
Thank you.
So
How do you keep Cardi alive?
I see him everywhere in everything I do. It could be a song on the radio. It could just be me talking to him. Sometimes I'll have dreams of him, and although like they're inaudible, like he's not talking, it's a smile. It gets me up. It gets me motivated.
Do you have dreams about him a lot? I'm always asking Rylan, like, please come to me in my dream, but I don't have a lot of dreams about him.
I would say over the span of 2 years, maybe like 3 times.
Yeah, same. I think that's like
About
same
3 times. And it happens in those moments of like big moments. It was recently I seen him, and I want to say he was like maybe 3 in this dream. And he just kept staring at me, and I was looking at him, and we were at a party, and he was just being himself dancing, but he was just his smile just from ear to ear, and just me watching him dance, and I'm like, that's my boy, like, you know. And I know that started my day, and it just had me in a good mood, and I put on good music, and I started just listening, and it made me happy. When I'm at work, I don't try to be like a weirdo or anything because I work with kids, but I gravitate towards the schedule when I see like 4-year-old boys come in, because Cardi was 4 when he passed away. And then I also gravitate towards little boys that are 7 years old because Cardi will be 7 this year. Yeah. And I just look and I'm like, this is where my baby left me at, and this is what he would be today. And just little things like that. I look for ways to see him. My neighbor, she has 2 twin boys actually, and they'll be 7 this year. They're born in the same month as Carter, so they're all little Leos. And I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, this is so eerie. One day, one of them had a little incident, and Chris and I were outside with all the kids. We were doing laundry, and so he was crying, and so Chris was over there trying to, you know, make him feel better. And I said, what's wrong, buddy? What happened? And he was, my brother ran over my toe. And I'm like, I'm sure it was an accident. Like he'll apologize to you. But I had to kind of like step away because I felt like this moment in my heart, I'm like, oh my God, it's like looking at my son. Like, but it's just looking at them. It's like, this is what Carter would have been. Like if he was here, he would have been right along with them because they were like this in a building. They were always playing with each other.
How do you want Cardi to be remembered?
Through my organization. He's the reason why I started it. I'm still working on fine-tuning my mission statement and what the inspiration was behind it, but Grow would definitely be in honor of Carter. Right now, I'm having a really hard time trying to figure out how to celebrate his birthday, his 7th birthday, because I remember our last conversation. He was like, Mommy, one of his classmates at school had a really big birthday party. She turned 5. And he was, Mommy, can I have a big party? And I said, sure. And I'm like, let's do it. And so that was kind of like hard to deal with because it was like, in the midst of planning a birthday party, I had to turn around and plan a funeral. And I'm just like, wow, he was like a month shy of his 5th birthday when he passed away. So I'm like, should I reach out to the teacher and see maybe if I can rent that space where his old preschool was? I'm sure she'll be all game for it. They all miss him, loved him dearly. Or do I just find a space to just celebrate and just have a party, have everybody come out, bring your lawn chairs, bring your coolers, bring your music, whatever memory of Carter, just come out and have fun.
Yeah. The birthday is like, it's like the hardest day of the year for me, but it's also the day that I want to celebrate the most because for me,
Yeah.
like the day that he's born is the most important day.
Absolutely.
So even though it's hard, I'm like, I'm going to do it. I mean, I go into the grief hangover afterwards,
Yeah.
but
In
it
the
is like,
moment.
it is just so important for me to do that.
And I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't gotten there without, my biggest fear is not feeling awkward.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest fear. Like, how can I smile and celebrate without feeling so much sadness?
Agree. And I mean, I don't celebrate his birthday with like a bunch of people. It's, I mean, it's our family and we go and we try to do all the things that we feel like are meaningful.
Yeah.
We could feel him. I think for me, all I want to do is I just want to feel him every day. So it's just finding the things, I don't know, like your foundation gives you meaning and it makes you feel closer to him.
Yeah.
So it's like doing things like that. So that's been hard for me
Yeah.
to branch out and find the things that make me feel closer to him and do things that make me feel closer to him because we're busy, right? It's like working full time and raising the girls and managing their grief and my grief and trying to also be a partner to my husband and do, it's just, there's so much.
Yeah.
And I just want to feel him.
It's overstimulation.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot to navigate. Maya's pushing to go to San Francisco. She wants to go to San Francisco to honor her brother. So
what's special about San Francisco?
That was like their last trip they took together.
Okay.
And they had such a great time. She's like, I remember the sea lions, Mom. We stayed on Broad Street. She had a great time. We went to Fisherman's Wharf. It was just different. Like, she was like, the air was different. The people were different, Mom.
You could feel him there?
Yeah. She's like, I had such a great time. She goes, I want to go back to those big piano stairs that me and him ran up and down. Like, all the memories of everything she remembers from just those few days we stayed there. So she's like, yeah, I want to go there. And that was the main reason why we traveled to San Francisco was because the Universal Circus was out here. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like pretty much the circus that was geared towards people of color.
Okay.
And so over time, even as a child, I remember that they've incorporated other races, but it was more so a multicultural circus. It wasn't like Barnum and Brothers or things like that. It was predominantly Black. And so we grew up in Carson, and we always remember going to Crystal Casino in Compton, and that's where the big tent would be, it's Universal Circus. And we would always see it as kids. We've gone like a few times. And so when it came back around, I was like, oh my God, like I remember this as a kid. And we missed when they were out here in the city and their next stop on their tour was San Francisco. So I was like, Maya's turning 7. Cardi's graduating. I want to go see Universal Circus. They're in San Francisco. We did it. Kids love the circus. Such a great circus. Such a good experience. She still talks about it to this day. She's like, oh my God, Mom. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know if they'll be around this time around, but I just been focusing on exposure for her.
I think trying to do all the things for them and then also just trying to manage myself is the hard part for me.
Yeah.
So, them to still do all the things.
No, absolutely.
You know, like I want them to be able to be kids and go to the parties and have fun and experience life and experience the world, but I can't help but do all those things. And then at the end of the day, I feel good for them.
Yeah.
And I also feel bad for me. I'll come home from those things and I'll just say, he should be here.
Yeah.
He should be here for me to come home
Absolutely.
to be like, hey, like, guess what we did today?
this, yeah.
Because he is disabled. You know, he typically couldn't come to all of the things we'd always go to. They would always be
They're not so accommodating.
and it always wouldn't be appropriate for him because he didn't really like loud noises.
Yeah.
So, but like we would tell him in the morning, like, hey, Rowan, like we're going to do this today and we're going to come back and the girls are going to be like, oh, we're going to bring you this and we're going to bring you that. And he's just constant, always there to come home to. So
Yeah.
I think you can feel both things.
Mhm.
I can feel full and happy for them. And then I can also feel like the empty and the sadness too.
Yeah.
So
I feel that daily. I had that moment just the other day. I went to Martin Antaritos right there on Florence in Locust, and I was craving agua frescas, and so we went, and we got it, and so we were sitting there waiting for our order, and I just started tearing up, and Maya's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, the last time that we were here, it was me, you, your dad, and your brother, and we were all sitting having ice cream as a family, and I haven't set foot in that place since then. So just being there in that moment, I was just like, I became so overwhelmed with emotion that she just got up and she started hugging me. She's like, "It's okay, Mom." I'm like, "I know. I'm like, can I just hurry up and get my order as I can go?"
yeah. And do you see how it sounds like Shemaiah is like really there for you? The girls are there for me too.
Yeah.
Like they come and
It's
console
crazy,
me,
right?
and they take care of me, and they
Yeah.
hug me, and they'll see me crying, and they also, I look at them and I see him too. And being with them, they bring him up in everything that we're at. Which is
Everything.
just like the amazing part about having them is that we'll go here and they'll be like, "Oh, he did this, he'd be doing that, he likes this. Oh, Mom, do you remember?"
Yeah.
Like, even the things where like I may have forgotten, they'll always remind me. And
Always.
they'll always ground me into bringing me back to, yes, I have 3 children.
It's the incorporation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like we're all
don't forget.
yeah, we're all together still. So they I love them so much. And
Yeah.
I feel so bad sometimes because I feel like, am I being a good mom to them because I'm so just fucked up inside?
Yeah.
Like, you're all questioning yourself, right? Like, no matter
Always.
what. So I continue to question myself. I want to do all the things for them. I want to be the best parent I can. And I don't know if I'm doing enough either. But
I feel that way sometimes. I cried the other night. I cried myself to sleep. And Chris was asking me, he's like, "What's wrong, my son?" I'm like, "It's not just that." I'm like, honestly, I just feel that I'm always so angry. And I try not to be. And I feel like the person that gets the short end of the stick of it all is my daughter. And I feel like I treat her unfairly sometimes and that I take my frustrations out on her and it's not fair to her. And I would hate for that to put a wedge between our mother and daughter relationship. And I told him, I said, it's a lot because I take on so much of the family burdens and just coordinating schedules and cooking dinner. Like, I didn't cook for like almost a year. I didn't cook for like the first year. It took me a really hard time. I think the first time I cooked, I broke down when I realized I had to only put out 3 plates instead of 4. So to not kept me from the kitchen. And then it went into, okay, as long as she eats and he eats, I'm okay. I went a whole year without eating. I lost like 30 pounds. And I hated it when people did see me. They're like, "Oh my God, you're so skinny. Oh my God." I'm like, can we not talk about my weight? Can we just focus on me being here and being present and just living in the moment? What else was it? I told him, I said, I feel like I don't get to cry as much as I should. I have to bear face and be the strong one. And I hate that. And for Black women and women of color especially, you have to be strong. No, it's okay to not be okay. Like, let's be okay with that. But I don't understand. Is there a law somewhere that we have to just bear it all and just not break? And no. I wish for myself that I would cry more. But then at the same time, I don't want like an emotional and a weepy pregnancy because then that transfers to him. And I want him to come out and be like a ball of life and just joy and just be able for him to live in his own identity. But I told their dad, I'm just focused on living unapologetically, not giving a fuck what anybody has to say. My life is my life. I even told my dad, I'm like, losing a child, it minimizes so much. Like, even what I went through as a child with the sexual assault, like that doesn't, what's that? I'm
Wow.
trying to get my life back together, still picking up the pieces to the puzzle after losing my son. Even I feel like shortly after he passed away, my car was vandalized. Like, my windows were busted at one point. Then my tires were punctured at another point.
Don't you feel like we shouldn't have to go through that kind of stuff? My son died. Like, no, I shouldn't get a flat tire. Like, none of that stuff can happen.
And my dad, shout out to him. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Daddy, this is nothing." I'm still, the biggest thing is trying to recover the loss of my son. Like, this is nothing. Yeah. Like, and karma is real. So whoever did this, trust and believe me, they'll have their day. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's no sense in getting upset.
Exactly.
It's not.
Before we leave today, is there anything else you want to talk about? We talked about a lot.
Yeah, we did. I don't know. I could go on and on for hours. Like, I feel like we need a part 2.
There's so much. I mean, there's so many layers to the grief, right? There's
Yeah.
like, there's who we were before we had our child. There's who we were when we had our child with us. And then there's also like, I feel like I'm a different person now.
Yeah.
Now that Rylan has died. Because I
Absolutely.
feel like a part of me has died.
No, for
And
sure.
I am like just different. I'm different.
Yeah.
Not who I was before.
Yeah.
But I, like you said, trying to find meaning is the only thing that makes me be able to get up every day.
Mhm.
And then that's when I feel happy.
Yeah,
Is when I'm doing something that feels connective.
for sure. When I went back to work, I went back in like February. I put on my scrubs, and here goes Maya with all her emotions. She starts crying. I'm like, why are you crying? And she goes, it feels so good, Mom, to see you put your scrubs back on. I was like, my baby. She was, you just don't know how good it feels, Mom. I'm like, oh.
She's so supportive.
Yeah. So it's just like, gosh, it made me wonder, like, how long has she been waiting for that moment? Like, does she ever feel like, will we be normal again? Will Mom ever go back to, although I'm doing all these other great things in the background and trying to make sure she's incorporated. Like, this is not just my story. This is your story too, because eventually when I'm ready to say I'm done doing the work for the people, I expect for you to fall in line and carry on that legacy for you, for anybody else to come after that, after you. Birthdays are definitely different because I remember always saying, another year we survived, and how it's like, okay, another year I survived my grief of losing my son. Like, it's just, hey, it's a lot. It is. It really is. So
Thank you for being here today and for being so open and sharing so much of your life. It's not easy.
thank you.
It's not easy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great what you're doing.
It really started as just one big distraction because I was like, I need something. I feel like that's what it's been like for me in grief. I just need to find somewhere for my thoughts to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a good place for my thoughts to go,
Yeah.
instead of into the black hole.
No, this is great work though. Like, I'm honestly in awe of the people that are brave enough to share, like, their like mothers that have maybe miscarried, or mothers that take the honor walk with their babies, or mothers that post videos when they're at the crematorium or saying their last goodbyes, or I'm still trying to get into that space of having a nice photo shoot where we get to incorporate Carter. I don't know if I want to include his urn or the hospital that they took a really nice cast of his hand.
I'll always put a picture, Rylan.
Yeah.
But I'll print out a picture, and then if we take a picture together, I'll just
You
like,
put
hold
it,
it up.
yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out like different ways,
Yeah.
especially with the baby coming, because it's my family, and I've always told their dad, I'm like, I know it sucks right now and it's always going to suck, but I want to preserve what's left of my family, and eventually at some point continue to grow and build from there, because he wasn't my end all be all. If anything, he was my new beginning. He brought me here to where I am today.
I love that. Thank you, Chalon.
Thank you.
Thanks, moms. Have a day.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of The Sad Moms. Help us spread awareness about grief and grow our community by writing an Apple review, rating us on Spotify, subscribing on YouTube, and sharing with as many people as you can. Until next time, have a day.